Good afternoon, gamers. Jaraoh back. More VOD reviews. Let's get it. So, we have Prismat, once again, in the hot seat. And I'm excited about this one. So, I'm going to yap for a little bit. To this point in the game's competitive existence, which is the game just released about 4 days ago at this point. In paper, in person, out here in the West, the online circuit has basically exclusively seen MFB and Aurora deck, right? Or MF is reasonably unpopular, but the copies of her that you have seen have basically been Aurora, and I think aside from Set, basically every orange shell is an Aurora shell, right? Most of those archetypes just kind of lean into the larger units. It's got pretty effective, it's got like reasonably effective removal in like challenge, and I think sabotage is a pretty underutilized card at the moment. It obviously has the ramp elements in Catalyst and Mobilize, so that's just kind of where you are going to land a lot of the times if you are playing orange already. But there's a couple things going on. So, purple, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people are starting to catch on as well, is far and away the best aggro color of the six, right? Or I guess tempo color, you could say. It doesn't have very good permanent removal, right? You've got like fading memories and stuff like that. But a lot of your most powerful cards are actually tempo elements to just like keep your units alive or push your opponent's units back just for enough time to get you over the finish line, right? You're not actually trying to create as much long-term card advantage with a lot of your tools. I'm thinking things like Flash, Fight or Flight, Gust, Rebuke. These are tools that you're trying to utilize the cheapness of them to win the game in a couple of turns as opposed to create long-term advantages, right? So another thing going on is I think just MF's card in general, her legend ability giving ganking. I think the earlier you can utilize that, and with your mid-range threats, the more valuable that ability is, right? I don't think ganking is like a massive benefit when you're playing like a big unit Aurora-style deck. It can obviously come up for sure, but I think playing a lower-to-the-ground deck for that ability would make sense just in a vacuum. And then I also think the MF Legend is very good, right? Being able to ready anything when she moves, that's like pretty fantastic. But yeah, so I've obviously like hinted at it a little bit, but Pris has a fun one for us today. He's got an MF aggro deck, and I think that should be quite exciting. We are playing against a blue Ahri deck, it looks like, which I think at this point is the most popular version of Ahri. But Ahri has been a little bit on the decline from where the meta has moved towards over the last several weeks. Alright, so we've got Merchant, Deckhand, Kiana, Gust. I mean, I don't know if we're going first or second, but I could easily imagine a world where we keep everything here, right? Like, if we're on the play, turn 1 Merchant, turn 2 Deckhand, take 2 points, sit on Gust. That's like kind of as good as it gets, no? We're starting with Zon, which is going to be our best map. Opponent has Arena's Greatest, which is, oh, that's actually the other one, right? That's not Arena's Greatest, I don't think. But, yeah, starting with Zon Warrens, that's obviously going to be our best one. So I think we're pretty happy with this. I wouldn't be surprised if we keep everything. Speed this up a little bit, potentially. All right, perfect. There we go. So we are going second. Opponent leads on a Sentry. I don't think there's much reason to sit on Gus. I would just want to play a Merchant, get on the board. We don't even have to be threatened by a trade. Yeah, I love this. I love this. And we get to discard draw. Realistically, it's just the Merchant at this point, right? It could be the other deckhand. It's Merchant or Deckhand. We're for sure keeping Gust and Kiana. I like this. I like get rid of the Merchant. Just get the other Deckhand on board next turn. Get off to a nice early start. I'm a fan. I am a fan. And we are jamming a Sona. Interesting. Alright, my trademark pause. Just remember, we don't see a lot of Reckoner's Arena anymore. So I want to make sure that I know the stipulations of what it does. This is the... Come on. Oh, it is... Oh, yep. Here we go. When you hold here, activate the conquer effects of units here. Interesting. Yeah, that one doesn't see a lot of play. That one doesn't see a lot of play. So we get our hold. We're up to 2. There's no more deckhand action. I think we're pretty happy to just get the Kiana on board. I think that makes sense. Pulls back the deckhand because realistically, I don't think triangle hold makes a lot of sense anyways. I don't think they have a ton of accelerate, but we can just retake next turn, right? So there's no reason to not pull back. It literally ends up being the same thing. And it just gives us the opportunity to potentially conquer with Kiana for free if we decide we want to go that route. We're hiding a card. It just must be Zonia's then, right? And then we're going to ready our resources because of Sona. Okay, so that definitely like kind of poses a problem. Is this Hidden Cub? Just a generic hidden 3/3. That's pretty wild. So we're raging our Kiana. Okay. I think this is likely very safe, right? I don't think blue-green has anything that can punish this. It's like we're only trading for the Zonias, which is a little lame, but what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? We're certainly, like, not getting got by any, like, disciplines, none of that stuff, right? Opponent could have windwalled it. What are we going to do? We're presumably just going to draw a card, right? I don't think we need another resource here, even if we are going to hide the cub. I like drawing a card. Yeah, I think the generic answer of drawing a card there is very good. Now we're probably discarding one of these Gust, right? He's going to discard the Kiana. I don't see the Gust getting a ton of value, but maybe he's thinking like the Ari is already on board, and you'll definitely want to Gust that at least once. Interesting. I don't think there's any reason to sit on Gust, is there? I would be really tempted to play this pit rookie and hide the hidden cub. Right? Alright, so we're not playing the pit rookie. We're saving it as a trick for our next turn. I guess this makes sense to me. My gut instinct would have been to buff the Kiana so that it was harder to conquer there, but maybe he just doesn't care about that, and I think that's reasonable. I think not caring about that is reasonable. Gonna charm the Kiana over, so we're gonna respond by flipping our guy. Yup. Yeah. I mean... Oh, we can Gust our own Kiana back. That's cute. I will not lie. I did not clock that play. Okay. Interesting. I still think I would have preferred, like, for me personally, to discard Gust and keep the other Kiana, and then just play the pit rookie and let this Kiana be a 5. But, you know, maybe the opponent has, like, a discipline or a, on guard, and that never would have worked anyways. I think Blue Kaisa is pretty underrated, actually. I agree. I'm glad to see that card get some play. I think that card's quite good. All right, so we get our holding point. We're up to 5. Can't stop the opponent from going up to 4 realistically. Unless we want to... We could accelerate our MF, but that's got to be a pretty bad line, right? We would go down to a 4 because of the Ari ability. We wouldn't even conquer. We would just trade. Yeah, I mean, I kind of think we have to pull back Cub and then just Kiana plus Pit Rookie, no? I don't think sitting on Gust does anything. Oh, I guess, like, then they just get to pick up Charm. That's really annoying. But I don't think we can stop that, right? It doesn't look like we can stop them picking up Charm to me. It's a really hard spot to be in. Really hard spot to be in. Yeah, I would lean towards Kiana plus Pit Rookie. But because of the Charm, you can't even... Yeah, I mean, Merchant is probably better, actually. Just because the Pit Rookie, whatever you buff, is just going to die to the Kai'Sa anyways. Because presumably, yeah, they hold 5, and they're just going to send the Kai'Sa in and conquer with Kai'Sa, yes? Yeah. And then I would be crazy surprised if they didn't Charm. Seems like the freest Charm of all time. Just playing a Charm from our hand. Yeah, that's tough. That's real tough. Conquer again, back up to 5. Presumably playing a second Charm, right? I don't know why we wouldn't. And then we kind of lock the Merchant because the Merchant can't even go anywhere. I like the look of this Ari list. Goes a lot bigger than what I've seen. I'm a big fan. And then we're just playing the Ari, presumably, right? Interesting. Yeah, I guess we're happy to use Zhonya's on any of this. That makes sense to me. I'm a little surprised we didn't play a second Charm off of our Kai'Sa. What did we play off the Kai'Sa instead? I was not looking at that. I mean, I don't think either of these targets are wildly threatening. Okay, that makes sense to me. Discipline gets countered, and they get to draw. That's tough. This game is just insanely over now. I don't see how we ever get back into this game. Opponent's units are too massive. Our units are too small. Yeah, I don't see the vision. I don't see the vision. Oh, it looks like he's calling it as well. Yep. I think... Listen, I'm not one for, like, early concessions or whatever, but I think that game was a wrap. I think that game was over 100% of the time. All right. Let's peek the sideboard a little bit. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? I did not think of Cub as being a particularly powerful card. I'm interested to see if those get sideboarded out. I'm kind of interested that they're even in the main deck to begin with. Honestly, that's very interesting to me. I think taking out Memory seems strange. Very interesting. Taking out Ride the Wind. I think that makes sense. You're not, like, really comboing it with anything. I would have thought... He's got Unyielding Spirit in his main deck, too. That's wild. Really, just, like... I guess the deck is tuned, basically, just to... I mean, not just to, but... The deck is tuned, really, to just fight Kai'Sa. And then the logic is, much like with Sabotage, you have Zon Warrens and... Merchant, so you can just discard them when they're not good. I think that puts a lot of pressure on your discard cards, though. Like, I think it's really hard to have Unyielding Spirit in your deck when your opponent isn't playing Kai'Sa, or just a red deck in general. Very interesting. I'm excited to see how the sideboard games go here. Hopefully we get more than one. Yeah, the deck layout here, I mean, I like a lot of what the deck is doing. I mean, really, the only card that doesn't make immediately obvious sense to me that it's there on power is the Cub. I'm not like a big Mystic Poro enjoyer when you're not doing the Nocturne thing either, to be fair, but... I mean, Vision is... It is probably an underrated ability. I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of look back on that one day and are like, I can't believe we just didn't play all of the vision cards. Being able to, maneuver the top of your deck is very important. All right, so we have Arena's Greatest this time, and then War Camp. War Camp is an interesting choice for that Ahri deck, because that Ahri deck went bigger. It went way bigger. I wouldn't think that would be a War Cut, or a War Camp angle. All right. Do we want a deckhand? On the play? Probably. I think we're more likely to want a deckhand next turn than recycle a resource for the Kiana, right? Maybe that's not true. Maybe he wants to get the Kiana online early. Try to ramp up or get some card advantage out of it. My gut instinct would be to keep the deckhand, but it's pretty hard. It just fights so bad against Ahri. I mean, it's just like a 1-power unit when... Yeah, he puts it on the bottom. I think bottom makes sense. Like I said, I would have been inclined to keep, but I'm not surprised at all to find that bottoming it and just hoping for a more powerful card is better. Alright, starting with Sentry again. Having double Rebuke is nice. I feel like Sona is one of the bigger problems. Oh. That's cute. Okay. I like that. And then I think the Gust here is really important. I think it's unlikely that it was going to be needed, but yeah, so we're going Mask in so we can trade with the Poro if we want. We're just Sorcery Speed disciplining. Is Gust is an action, right? Not a reaction, so I don't think we can Gust that. Yeah, it looks like there's no counterplay to that. Yep, looks like our guy just dies. No. I think that's mostly okay with us. Oh, Seal's not a terrible draw. We can either MF or Kiana here. Interesting. I like this Gust, I think. Up to 5. Yeah, this is nice. So now we just definitely seal Kiana, right? I don't think there's any reason to MF. We don't need the Accelerate from her. We've already double scored. I love this. And now double Rebuke in hand. We've just got this game in the bag, no? Like, I think it's, like, almost impossible that we don't win the game 2 turns from now. Alright, this is what you want to see. This is fun. Find your center. Yeah, I mean, opponent is at 8, so it's like they're going to start being able to threaten some Time Warp stuff, but I don't think that's actually, like, scary. Alright, yeah, we've doubled. Do we just, like, pull back? So we don't have to worry about our guys, like, dying for free? I don't hate it. Do we even need to play the Kiana? I feel like we should probably play the Kiana. I can't imagine we need to double Rebuke next turn, right? Gust plus Rebuke should be enough. And I think I can imagine a world where we definitely want the extra might to attack with. Because I think our play next turn is just for sure MF plus Rebuke, right? Even if we have to play a Rebuke this turn, we have enough. I like this. Yep, I like this play a lot. And I really don't see how we don't win the game on our next turn. Yeah, I mean, like, we've played it in a way where Watcher doesn't really stop us or do anything. I mean, them trying to do some kind of combat doesn't do anything if Time Warp is involved because their onboard units aren't strong enough. Interesting. So we're just unguarding, so we're a 4, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, Gust is action speed, so we can't respond to this, I don't think. I don't think we want to Rebuke that either, though, right? I mean, especially, yeah, I mean, there's no way we Rebuke that. Especially when the student is now a 3 and going to be a 4 for free as well. So you would just have to double, like, which we can't even do. You just for sure let them take this trade and draw a card, no? Unless I'm wrong and Gust is a reaction, which I do not think it is. I do not believe Gust is a reaction. Gust Riftbound. Oh, it is a reaction. Interesting. So that's what he's thinking about. I might do that. Yeah, I like doing it. So I'm gonna pause. It took Pris a second to come up with that conclusion that he wanted to do that, and I'm sure that there was plenty going through his mind. But right off the rip, that seems really good to me twofold, because even though it's counterable by the opponent playing another combat trick, in a world where your Gust gets countered there, you don't care about them conquering, I don't think, especially with a Sentry, but it denies them the card draw, which I think is very valuable, right? Whereas if you just pass focus and let that happen, 4 versus 4, they get to remove your Kiana from the board and draw another card. I think this is a slam dunk Gust. I think that's one of the best Gusts I've seen, basically. Alright, and then the student is presumably going to go in at the Kiana for 4. And then I would be pretty inclined to just, like, what is that? Find your center to draw another card. That costs resources, right? Oh no, it only costs 1 because of our victory point total. Yep, and I like this Rebuke. It's like a little annoying if they have I mean, it's not even. I was going to say it's a little annoying if they have Watcher, but it's just not, because we have the second Rebuke to cover it. And they're tapped out. So, yep, we don't care about Hourglass. Bang! Love to see it. We floated 2. Don't even need the MF, but we've got the MF. Bang! You love to see it. Very nice, Pris. Yeah, that was sick. That was sick. You could definitely see where being on the play was a big deal. We got to actually utilize the MF ganking ability. And it did a couple things, too. It prevented the enemy from being able to represent the turn 2 Conquer plus Reinforce with Sona, which I think is massive, right? I think Sona is a very underplayed unit. I think Sona is a very, very underplayed unit. I think she's incredibly strong, especially in a deck where you can kind of consistently conquer the turn that you play her and reinforce. Because I think a lot of her liability otherwise was, baked into the fact that if you play her, she's a pretty low power unit, and you don't get anything the turn you play her. But if you get to reinforce with her, she's significantly better. Let me make sure I have my bearings right on that. It's just when you hold, right? Or not when I'm at about. Yeah, exactly. When I'm at about. She doesn't have to be the one conquering. Alright, so we've got Candlelit Sanctum here versus Dreaming Tree, okay? Dreaming Tree has some interesting context for us, I think. We're probably throwing back one of our 2-drops, right? Maybe he keeps both to just attack for 3 on turn 2. So he is going to throw back the Pit Rookie, which obviously if you were going to keep one of the 2-drops, that's the right one to mulligan, because the Poro does something. The Pit Rookie does not do anything when it's the only unit. Primal Strength, that we probably want to keep. Yep. I would be surprised if we didn't want that one. Man, these Gusts, they're risky. They're risky business. I like going for it, though. It's a nice tempo, and if your opponent has to spend resources to pump it out of range, I think you're pretty happy about that. Interesting. That tells us a few things. I think that tells us the opponent doesn't have any pump spells, because I think pump spell plus claim there would have been better. Maybe that's not true. Discipline, I think it would have been. Especially with the Ari ability, you would already be threatening a good combat. I wonder if we're going to go for the same play that we did last game. The Poro claim and then ready it with first mate, reinforce, and then give it ganking. It's very interesting to me. There's some interest, I'm sure, in like trying to represent a hold on Dreaming Tree with Primal Strength. But I don't think we need to do that this turn. There's also a lot of interest in just putting the Kiana in play, honestly. I'm interested to see how Pris decides to to play this. I don't think we should expect the opponent to have a lot of accelerate. Interesting. The Kiana is just so bad for our curve, and I don't think we want to double recycle, right? Double recycle means we don't even have the option to MF. Next turn. Yeah, I think all roads lead to this. I think starting on Conquering Candlelit Sanctum and seeing what our top couple cards look like is... Yeah, we for sure keep Fight or Flight. That's a no-brainer. Fight or Flight is... even though it's like not insane specifically against Ravenbloom Student, I think we do expect it to be quite good against something like, you know, the Watchers and the Kaisas and the bigger cards that the opponent has shown us. He's still thinking about it. I would be surprised if we wanted First Mate. I don't think we want a second First Mate, do we? Very interesting decision trees here going on. Typical cats going completely psycho at a cool 6:30 in the evening. Yeah, I like this play. I like the Kiana Jam. I think specifically the Kiana Jam and not playing the Cub makes a ton of sense, because I think we want to at least be able to threaten the MF, right? I think threatening the MF is very important, even if we decide we don't want to do it. Opponent gets their first score. Charming the Kiana, that's tough. Wow, 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 wow. Not the best look I've seen. Yeah, I feel like we're so far behind here. That's unfortunate. What are we doing next turn? So the base on the Student, if we were to attack it, is 2-3, and we would be lowered by 1. So if they had nothing, we could MF into the Student, but I don't know if that's what we want to do. Maybe we have to do it. Maybe we don't have another line that's good. It looks like he's just going to cast Cub. That means we're just going for First Mate here. Yeah, I don't hate this. I don't hate this at all. Play the game a little slower. No real reason to fight over the Student, right? Give him the hold point. Who cares? I particularly like that if they were to conquer us this turn, or they're not. So I would be surprised if we don't sit on Primal Strength this turn. I think Pris really wants to be able to Primal Strength his Dreaming Tree unit and get a card out of it. Which means we're probably just playing a Cub, right? I feel like my girl cat here is perched up. I feel like she did something bad. I can't wait to go out there and see what it was. She knows she was causing a bunch of mischief. Yep, up to 4 points for scoring on Candlelit Sanctum, right? Very interesting. I'm like I said, I suspect Pris is not going to play MF this turn. No reason to. We've already double conquered. I think the interesting part of this turn is, are we sitting on Cub, or are we playing Cub? Are we playing and or hiding anything is, I think, the interesting part this turn. We have enough energy that we could play one and hide the other, but we can't play both and represent Primal Strength, which is very interesting. My gut instinct is I do not want to hide Fight or Flight because I want to be able to play it on either battlefield. It's very interesting. I don't think you hold anywhere. I don't think trying to hold makes a ton of sense. They're, of course, going to attack with the Kaisa first in case something were to go wrong. They would have Hourglass. I kind of think we 2 puts us to down to 6, and we would still have 8 again next turn. I kind of want to hide this cub, I think. But then, doesn't that just, like, give away that we have spells? Yeah. I think I like this play. That's what I was just calling out. I think I like hiding cub here. My only concern is I think it just gives away... Because now we let our mana go to waste. We hid the cub. They could think it's fight or flight, but they probably, I assume, suspect it's cub. And we didn't play MF. So I think we're just representing too many spells here. I feel like it's maybe a little too predictable. This is not a good... I mean, I guess they're just not playing around cub, right? But I do not think this is a good attack. Because... Alright, so I want to pause here for a second. I think this is not a very good attack. So, by the opponent. So, we obviously, like, have the biased information. We have access to Pris's hand. We do not have access to Sama's hand. But you have Hourglass on board. Should you not just make the attack with Kaisa first? I can't imagine a world where you have to attack with Student first. Because if you're attacking here, then Kaisa's always attacking here, right? And maybe you're doing that because you just thought it was so likely the card was fight or flight. But I think that's just bad planning. Because there's no world where you would hide fight or flight on this battlefield. That doesn't make any sense, right? You would just hold it in your hand. So I think that you can 100% conclude, even if you don't know the deck list, right? And you don't even know that he's playing Cub. I think you can with 100% certainty know that this was not fight or flight. Because it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense for it to be fight or flight. Alright, so what is that? Consult to draw 2? Interesting. Not a card I was expecting to see. It's a very interesting Ari list. I mean, I don't want to use either of our cards here, right? Don't we just let this trade happen? We get the Hourglass. That's insane. Do we care? There's no way we care about holding, right? Is the logic that, like... I don't think that I would fight over this. I think I would save the fight or flight. Very interested again to see what Pris does. Because isn't it just way better to fight or flight the Kaisa anyways, even if they attack Candle at Sanctum? Or to just Primal Strength? I just feel like letting the Hourglass eat the Student is so good, yeah. I'm glad that Pris did that. I would have been crazy surprised if he didn't. I mean, now we just do exactly what we were talking about, right? We just strength the fuck out of this, Oh, he's fight or flighting it. You're just baiting a Defy? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think it functionally worked the same if... Because the fight or flight was always going to get defied, right? So I think it just didn't matter. Just get it out of the hand for sure. I don't mind that play, but I think it was mostly a wash. Alright, so we're up to 5. Probably just ganking. Yeah, I think we saved the MF. That makes a lot of sense to me. Both on the bottom, it looks like. I like it. Yeah, I think we just play our cards, right? I can't really imagine a world where we don't benefit from just playing both of our cards. Could Pit Rookie buff the Cub, but I think I would just buff Kiana, no? I mean, our Student, like, our Cub is always dying anyways. Maybe the logic is you would buff Cub because it makes them play another spell first, but I don't think that's good, is it? Aren't they just so likely to play a spell anyways? I feel like the extra might on our Kiana could be very important. Pris disagrees, though. I mean, he is right about that. There is a lot of value in making your opponent potentially play a spell when they would have preferred to play a unit, right? I mean, especially when you're going into your 8-resource turn. Like, this discipline, maybe they had a Watcher. Well, Watcher's a bad example, right? Because they could still just play Watcher and conquer both battlefields, but... Yep. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. Now, what's the opponent got to keep us from double conquering? Because the MF is just on the board. And then the MF with ganking is obviously, like, very good as well, so we don't even have to, like, keep multiple units alive. In theory. Reinforcing. I think that doesn't actually make sense. Oh, we're going 3-unit strong. Well, in that case, you have to do that, right? Because it's just more might, and you obviously lose the game if we get to double conquer this turn, so... If we assume the op has nothing, see, that's going to go on the bottom. We are not interested in that, thanks. 7. So if we think the opponent has nothing, but even what could they have? I mean, like, what's the... Well, that's going to be the game, right? I think that plays around everything, does it not? Well, maybe it doesn't, actually. Because I was thinking we would still be able to MF. So we're just going to go for the hold. It's a really good play. This is a really good play. Because if the opponent had Stupefy, we would have got worked. And I think we're about to win. Watcher goes in as an 8. Both of our things are 1. But we +7. Very sick. Really good line there at the end as well. I think a lot of people would have missed that. I feel like a lot of people... Maybe I'm not giving people enough credit. I feel like a lot of people would have gone for the MF combat there, or the draw the primal strength and go for combat that way. Oh, I guess that just wouldn't have even worked anyways, right? Because it would have been 9 versus 7, 8. Yeah, that just doesn't work anyways. So yeah, you just pretty much have to always go for this hold. The Ahri ability, too strong. What an awesome set. What an awesome set of games. That was so sick. Especially losing game 1, where I thought our draw game 1 looked pretty good to me. We just got completely outclassed by the mid-range threats that this version of Ahri brought to the table. Really interesting, though. So, still a little unimpressed with Cub, I think. But the rest of the deck looked great. I wonder, is Cub... So, he's concluded then that Cub is better than Teemo, right? Just because it's always a 3-3. Or a 3 might rather. I guess that makes sense to me. I mean, the Teemo being a 1 all the other turns when you're not playing the Teemo ability to pick it up is like way too weak. I agree with that. Very interesting. Very interesting deck by Prismat here, and I loved seeing it get a win. Getting it on the board is sick. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I think, generally speaking, there's still a lot of room for exploration, right? So getting to see a unique take on an MF aggro deck when basically nobody else is doing that, I think is super sick. Alright, guys, I think that's going to do it for us today. As usual, if you enjoyed the vibes, enjoyed the show, go ahead and throw me out a like, a comment, and a subscribe. It helps the algorithm quite a bit, and I would really appreciate it. And until then, fam, I will see you all next time. Peace!